Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's a real honor and a privilege to be part of this event and part of this great institution, Harvard Business School, and to be here at Princess Noura University. We're talking about a topic that is extremely close to everyone's heart and livelihood, the topic of food security. The GCC overall is one of the most food secure regions in the world, with very high availability and affordability of food due to the very wise government policies. However, in the last 3 years, we've seen big shocks to the supply chain in the world, with COVID-19 disrupting the flow of food and some countries imposing export restrictions, as well as the conflict in the Ukraine, where again supply chains were disrupted. And what I'd like to discuss with our expert panelists is the solutions that can enhance food security in the GCC. Before we start, just a few facts about the situation in the GCC. 85% of the food consumed in the GCC is imported. 93% of cereals, 100% of rice, 62% of animal protein, and 56% of vegetables is all imported. So I'd like to explore the ways we can improve food security in the GCC. Starting with my colleague Mohammed Shuhail, as hailing from probably the largest food company in the region, marai. How can investment in local agriculture and local food processing enhance food security in the GCC region, and the experience of marai in this field?
طيب, السلام عليكم. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to discuss an important subject. I would elaborate on what you have said at the beginning. Today, although there were so many initiatives to improve the food security in the GCC countries, but on the other hand, we're still ranked number 31% in a food security global index. And that shows all the initiative has been done, which was a very great and quick. Still, there are long way to go, because from one angle, yes, we are depending highly on importing. There are others that we have managed locally to produce and to develop, and that shows that we can as a countries overall. Now, overall GCC, we talk about almost 60 million people living, but there are hundreds of millions of people visiting the countries in terms of tourism, doing business. But when you talk about Saudi in particular, we have people coming to the holy areas. There is an Vision 2030, the objective in 2030 to have more than 100 million visitors that going in the tourism. That's also part of the system that we need to make sure that we have that sustainability when it comes to the food. For the point I want to make, it's already becoming bigger and bigger, and that's why we need to have solutions to make sure that we make the food supply sustainable. There were initiatives before, I think as you mentioned, Ahmed, during COVID, that shows one, the resilience of the companies that we have in Saudis and GCC as well. That shows that it was a very strong test. And alhamdulillah, the government, the system, many companies in the GCC showed that we were really strong and ready and evolved. But on the other hand, we depend also highly on importing or also of the raw materials in general. In terms of all the government has enhanced the programs. The programs they were before, but I would say COVID has enhanced the program further to make sure that we improve and develop our local manufacturing. And when it comes to the processing or the agricultures in general overall, Saudi has established recently in the last couple of years, which is the Food Security General Authority. That shows now how important that subject and what are the plans, and to make sure that to consolidate all the initiatives that comes from the government, all the private sectors. We have seen in the last 10 years the newly established company, which is Saudi Agriculture and Livestock Investment Company, that also helped to make sure that we secure our food security locally, but also internationally overall. Now that's, I would say, in a quick, holistic view. But when it comes to Al-Marai, as you may mention, we are proud to say we are the biggest food company in the region. Al-Marai established long time ago, more than 45 years. It's also an initiative for food security and to make sure that we localize and we produce milk in Saudi. And it was in a very smaller scale. We are happy to say that today we are the largest integrated dairy farm in the world. In the middle of Saudi, we grow more than 180,000 cows, producing the highest quality milk globally. That shows we did not look at that issues and in terms of opportunity to sell, but as well to improve our expertise and technology and to evolve. On the other hand, we introduced or invested in the poultry business. 14 years ago, we reached now more than 250 million birds, and we are expanding further to reach 400 million birds. We have producing the bakeries. We produce 1.8 million pieces of bakery annually. If you look at those categories in particular, we almost contribute with the other companies in, I would say, the big part of what has been developed within those categories. Because those categories, I would say, the country in Saudi has been evolved. In the dairy, we are 100% self-sufficient. In the poultry, we are more than 50%. And the bakery as well, it's a very, very high percentage. If I would say, from one angle, you have mentioned some of the categories that we depend externally, but I would say there are other categories and market that we are have evolved and evolve and to make sure that we have a local sufficient. What we are expanding as well, the last part, which is to expand and to be part of a basket offering. And that's really to make sure that we are offering a full range of product and to become covering the whole essential need of the family. We are expanding almost 10 billion riyal within the next 4 years to expand in the poultry and the red meat and the fish as well. I would say apart from it has a market, and because we are a private sector, we need to make sure that we make profit. But on the other hand, that's really complementing what's also required in the local market to make sure that we improve our food security in the country.
That's so impressive. Saad, perhaps you can shed light as an executive member of the National Food Supply Chain and Catering Committee in the Federation of Saudi Chambers of Commerce, of what the government is doing to make the environment more attractive for more investment in agriculture and in food processing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ahmed. It's my pleasure to be here with you all. And thank you very much also for the Harvard Business School, the GCC, the Club of GCC, and Club of Saudi Arabia as well for inviting me. Definitely, food security became an emerging and really hot topic here in Saudi Arabia. Back to the food crisis happened in 2007, 2008. Immediately, the Saudi government has established the Saudi Agriculture Livestock Investment Company by a royal decree That was back to 2009. SALIC has became now a very important and supporting arm when it comes to ensuring food security in a very strategic categories and sectors. And recently, I'm sure that you are aware that you have seen it when SALIC has acquired almost 10.7% of the Brazilian poultry giant BRF company. And they went also into a strategic investments as well. They have a very rich now portfolio when it comes to investments and foreign entities to ensure food security. At a government level, definitely we have two key important supporting arm, which is MIWA, Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture, and of course Ministry of Industry represented in the National Industrial Development Center. I'd like to thank Mr. Abdullah Mubarak, the Food Processing Director here, also as for their usual and continuous support for the local food industries. As part of our food strategy, food security strategy here in Saudi Arabia, we have two pillars, two key pillars. The first one is to have a sustainable local food industries, and the second arm also to reduce food loss and waste at the same time. So definitely the Ministry of Industry now is playing a very critical role when it comes to supporting and driving growth of local food industries in particular. The business environment at all levels now is being enhanced and being more friendly. Even the regulatory environment for food business now is really excellent and good to support the local food industries. So we have many initiatives, many programs has been implemented in place to support the local food industries. Of course, the local content and procurement policies, beside also many initiatives. But for the sake of saving time, I'll talk more about food waste in a later stage. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, for sure, all the governments in the GCC are incentivizing more investment, and I understand in Saudi there's a target to attract $20 billion of fresh investment into the food processing sector. Another dimension that has kind of been talked a lot about recently is GCC countries going abroad, buying big plots of land, and growing staple food, or investing in large agri-businesses like Olam, like BRF, and many others. And I'd like to ask Muhammad here about the experience of Al-Marai, of having farms abroad. How has that affected the business, and how is it seen and evaluated internally?
طيب, just to go back to our lovely 180,000 cows, we need to ensure that we are feeding them. It's not with that massive system. We need to make sure that we guarantee there is a sustainable feed supply. We are proud to say that we produce 100% what we require from the green forage. And we already invested in Argentina. We have our own farms that produces our green forage, and as well to have a diversity as well, we invested in different farms in US who produce as well different type of green forage. And apart from different partnership that we do in Romania, South Africa, and Spain, because if we talk about a supply and the food security, you need to ensure it's not only the final product, you ensure the raw material that require in terms of production that goes for the final product, or also when it comes to the producing milk, it's the feed in general. I would say it was an action and a step for us to sustain and to guarantee that we have a supply of our feed. And I have to say that it's not easy because you are going to different countries, different legislation, different challenges, and each country has its own challenge overall. But on the other hand, if we look at al-marai, when we talk about, we supply to more than 200,000 shops in the Middle East. And we can imagine how many millions of customers that every day they pick the product overall. That's why we are responsible, or we are part of the food security to many people that we have in the region that I would say, I would not say pushed us, but at least encourage us to make sure that we take an investment to guarantee that supply. Because we are on the production. We are not in the farming, and we are not in the business of farming. But because of that sustainability, and to make sure that we have a food security sustainable always, we went there, and I would say, alhamdulillah, it was the right move and a successful move.
Great. Walid, as Nafa food and Nafa animal feed, one of the largest importers of barley and rice in the kingdom, what's your perspective on investing in farming abroad?
Well, thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you so much for having us. It's a privilege to be a part of this program and this panel. Food security is a big topic. It's one of the main. Thankfully, we here in Saudi Arabia and the GCC countries can see the availability of food everywhere. Alhamdulillah. This is, first of all, thanks to God. Second of all, thanks to the government and government bodies that ensures and continues to make programs and strategies and initiatives that drives both the government sector and the private sector to be part of ensuring food security in the region. One of the initiatives and strategies is the foreign investment. Foreign investment is basically the government and the Ministry of Agriculture with the ADF, Agriculture Fund, is encouraging not only big companies, mashallah, like Al-Marai or Salik, to expand and see the opportunities abroad. Because, as mentioned in your first question, it's so difficult to grow all of these commodities. You said rice, wheat. We need huge lands, we need fertile lands, we need water. It's difficult. And the world now is becoming a small world. Alhamdulillah, Saudi and the GCC countries are making great relationships with all countries. And with these policies, these initiatives, is encouraging the private sector to go abroad and see those big lands like Brazil, Australia, Russia and Ukraine, like Europe, and etc. To ensure, the program is mainly to ensure food security in Saudi. Okay, we finance you, you can go and invest, but we must have 50% of the production and the crop in this country to be received in Saudi. And moreover, to ensure if any issue or any, just for the last 3 years, we have seen 3 big main issues. And COVID, alhamdulillah, if you go to all supermarkets, when availability was there, affordability was there, price, no interruption. Alhamdulillah. After that, you've seen Russia and Ukraine issue. We have seen the grains, the increase in the hike of prices, the issues that happened through Black Sea. Again, thankfully, availability and affordability was available. As well, now we are in the Red Sea situation. Again, it's another high risk issue, but again, the the availability of the products here due to those investments that happened previously. Alhamdulillah, we have sufficient stocks and availability in these fields. And more investments must be done to ensure long-term goals, not just today. We're also thinking of long-term.
Thank you. I mean, one other strategy that some of the GCC countries have been implementing for some time, like the UAE, is being a logistics hub for food trade, and also creating strategic food reserves where the country has 6 months or more of its needs. Again, as a big commodity importer, how do you view this initiative, and how can it be, more widely spread throughout the GCC?
True. Well, other than foreign investments, another initiative and strategy of the government is to ensure availability of stock. So the program is called the Food Security Storage Program, where we have to establish hubs, warehouses, silos next to the ports. This will ensure two main objectives. One is the availability of the product, and to mitigate any risk of shipping, or mitigate any risk of volatility, mitigate of any external risks. And the second thing is the affordability of the product. We have more and more silos, more and more hubs within the regions. It would be faster to offload big vessels, and it makes it cheaper. And today, when we see the major ports available, the major hubs and warehouses and logistic warehouses by the seaports, still not enough. Alhamdulillah, we have seen good, a lot of marai they have, salik they have, faqih they have, UFC they have. In our consortium we have some dry warehouses next to the sea, but still not enough. More needs to be, and we can see those initiatives by the government. Now there are, by the Red Sea we have Jeddah Islamic Port, have Jazan. Jazan is a big potential to have more logistic hubs over there. So it's an essential strategy and initiative that will help ensure the affordability and the availability of our main commodities. Today, you said we're importing a lot of cereals and grains, rice, and those needs to be available here, not available here for whatever reason. And mashallah, I can see a lot of progress is going on in this.
I recall in the UAE that when COVID happened and they tried to take stock of the commodities, and because of giants like Al Ghurair and IFCO, the country had basically several years worth of stock because of the amount of re-export trade that was happening out of Jabal Ali and other ports. But perhaps from an operating point of view, Mohammed, if you want to share your perspective on this piece on reserves and logistics hubs, and whether a company like Al Marai considers investing in this area.
Just at the beginning, if we look at the Vision 2030, Saudi will be the biggest logistic hub. If you look at our location, there will be a huge investment in roads, in rails and port, and that's where the vision of the country moving forward. That would help the country, but it will help as well globally. But if I zoom into Al Marai, Again, we produce product to the final consumer. That's why we ensure to have a product. We went to invest in farming. But what's missing is how you're going to deliver the product from the farming to the manufacturing, and from manufacturing to the customers overall. Although that we are the biggest food manufacturer, but we are the biggest logistic company in Middle East. So we run all our operation, and the objective, again, we are, at that time, we were not expert in logistic, but on the other hand, we had to do it to make sure that we ensure, again, going back to food security, we ensure that we deliver the product at the right time with the right quality. So we went into investing into the logistic in general, and today we are the largest. So we are distributing in more than 40 locations in Saudi, and the company establishes in Kharj, in Riyadh, in close to Riyadh. But on the other hand, we expanded different cities, and then we also started to create, I would say, logistic and manufacturing hubs in Egypt, in Jordan, and also in UAE by investing in factories and acquiring different companies in order for us to expand those companies and offering. But I would say from a company that was in Al Kharj, we expanded to Saudi, and then as well we are part of the food security in the region. We are starting to have manufacturing and logistic hubs, not only in Saudi and also neighboring countries.
Great, thank you. One thorny issue in food security is the whole topic of waste. And it's kind of quite a sensitive topic because our culture in the region is to display generosity and to always have more food than needed on our plates. That there are some shocking statistics. You know, in Saudi, about 400 kilograms of food is wasted per annum, according to some studies, and in the UAE, close to 200 kilograms. So, Saad, perhaps if you can, share your perspective on how can we combat such high level of food waste in the region?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for this important topic. In my opinion, before to start my talk or speech about food loss and waste, because it's not only waste, we have to consider also food loss, which is happening at the production, processing, handling, transportation, and even at a wholesale level. So we have two parts here, food loss and food waste. As per the Food and Agriculture Organization reports or estimates, the cost of production of consumables, of wasted consumables, was at $750 million annually. And in GCC, the case, it might be worse because unfortunately in GCC, we are ranked among top countries when it comes to food loss and waste. In Saudi Arabia, the MIWA, or Saudi Grains Organization, which is recently known General Food Safety Authority, they realized there is a real demand to work on a program to minimize or reduce food loss and waste. There is a national program is being established almost 6 years back, but they started working massively on it almost 1 year ago, when they been working on a baseline study to come up to quantify food loss and waste, and to come up with the concrete and rigid food and loss waste indicator. So luckily, they were working in a highly comprehensive study covering almost 13 regions in Saudi Arabia, 35 cities, and they were using a FAO model for calculation, which we call it waste compositional analysis. So they were covering almost 19 products, divided by 8 key food categories, including wheat, barley, and bread, rice, dates, vegetables, fruits, red meat, including sheep, beef, and poultry, uh, and the fish and poultry as well. So they were 8 key categories. They come up with the baseline, or they come up with a percentage, a rigid percentage for food loss and waste, which is 33.1% of produced food almost being lost and wasted, unfortunately. The value of food waste, food loss and waste, it's 40 billion Saudi riyal annually. Food loss itself represents almost 14.2 percent, while food waste almost 19%, I would say. The study is being accepted and published by in a sustainable journal, which is open access Swiss journal. And it is here, by the way. I would encourage all of you, if you are interested, to look into it into details, to go for this one. It is available in both version, Arabic and English. It's a kind of collaborative and efforts of the National Program for the Reduction of Food Waste, Food Loss and Waste, and the Imam Mohammed bin Saud University, Dr. Abdurrahman Al-Khrayif and Zaid Al-Shabanat, they did a great job really on this study. So we are using it now as a baseline or baseline indicator for food loss and waste. So they established and they are working now heavily on a national program to increase the awareness and educate the consumers. The household food waste in Saudi Arabia, back to your point, the household food waste in Saudi Arabia, it's been specified at 105 kilogram per capita per year, while in UAE, I believe it was 95, but with low confidence, because I believe, I'm not sure if the UAE has a baseline indicator for food loss and waste. Maybe Salah can correct me if I'm not wrong, if I'm wrong. However, in Saudi Arabia, we have now these figures in high confidence. So the JEFSA has working heavily on this. They have a very good program. They are trying to increase the level of awareness. They are trying to educate people. They are using many materials, including, that flyers, papers, messages, even in social networks. They are trying to educate and keep the community involved in this ethically and from the religious point of view, to go for a responsible food utilization. Frankly speaking, we should all that be emotionally involved in this, and we have to contribute somehow, because of food loss and waste. We are utilizing, many national resources because of this waste, frankly speaking. So for me, in a conclusion, definitely, if these numbers remain high of food waste, I will not die a happy man. But we have to work hard on this. We have to be involved in this at all level. We need seek also from private sector. This program, they are having a partnership, a nice program. So it's open for private food companies, for NGOs, for even community. They can contribute and they can partner with this program. I'm sure that they would welcome any opportunity from all different levels to support into this. And GCC, I believe we have to look into to this topic from all different angles, because that when it comes to climate change and as the case of food security and climate change, food waste definitely represent a severe problem of sustainable development. This is what I would see, and a brief from my side about food waste and loss.
Thank you. Some shocking numbers, and taking into consideration the expected population growth, it's really an unsustainable picture, the level of food waste in the GCC. So we very much covered, the key angles for improving food security in the GCC, whether it is through local investment in food processing and agriculture, or in foreign investment in places where there is abundant water supply and different climates, or the establishment of food logistics hubs and reserves around the region, and finally the reduction of food waste and food loss, as Saad explained so eloquently. Before we wrap up, I'd like to ask my experienced panelists, what is one action that each of us in this room, whether we are running businesses or running households, can do to improve food security in the GCC? Starting with you, Mohammed.
Thank you. And I'll take maybe the first part, which is about investment or investors. We talked about the market size and the opportunities. We talked about GCC, where it will go, inshallah, in the future, and the market will be expanding. But one angle, it's a market opportunities. The market is big and will be much bigger in the next 10, 15 years. So that's an opportunity for investment. But on the other hand, governments are serious. There are already initiatives have been launched, and there will have so many initiatives will come. What I am advising and encouraging all of us when there are opportunities is to invest in the food in general, because market size opportunity are big. But on the other hand, government will enable investors to make sure that they expand in the market.
Thank you. Saad.
Yeah, definitely. For me, straightforward. I would strongly recommend to incentivize the local food industries to prevent heavy dependence on imports, because in order to be in a very secure position and situation, definitely you need to invest more heavily and incentivize the local food industries. This is for sure very critical and important. Then the second recommendation, I would say that also to look into food loss and waste and try to use the latest technologies and techniques in order to make food production more efficient and to avoid the loss and waste. And to educate, of course, the community and consumers to go for responsible food utilization. Simply like this.
Thank you. Walid.
Yes. Well, as we spoke, we have discussed the government and the private sector initiatives towards food security with the foreign investments, the availability and logistics hubs, and local agriculture. But again, the individual, all of us at our homes, we as individuals, we should also consider to ensure, we are a generous nation. We like, to invite, make sure everything is well placed and more food is available, but we don't consider what will happen after. So it should start from there. This is the first, row, the first army. This is where we should stop the food loss. So I honestly advise everyone, as a person, we should all start from our home to ensure not to order too much, not to cook too much, to make sure that this is enough. Sometimes we go together, okay, we're hungry, we want to order everything from the menu, but there are consequences for that. So I thought this is my advice to everyone.
Thank you very much. We can take a couple of questions from the audience if there are any. Please.
Me now?
We'll start here and then we go there. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Can you put the mic on? Yeah. They're working? You can shout, okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah? Now it works. I hear myself. Okay, perfect. So you are self-provisioned in several vegetables and fruit and stock. However, at the same time, you are still depending on other countries, especially in Asia, to import goods, foods, and what have you. Now, considering global climate change, political challenges across the world, and growth of the community, how do you foresee security across the border, so in those countries where you already import food from? I can imagine you have a strategy, but could you, one of you maybe highlight, how do you secure food supply from those countries, which obviously you will not be able to grow in the Middle East?
Sure. Hamad, you want to start and then Walid maybe also give your perspective?
طيب. One element that we would need to the possible, we produce locally. That's why this is a government initiative, and we as companies, we are working toward producing locally when it's possible. But you are right, we are also depending in some of the commodities from one area to another. I would say one of the things is just to make sure we have a diversification. We do not rely on one source of area. A better example, let's say, what's really happening in Russia and Ukraine. If some of the companies and countries depending only on what has been exported by Ukraine, it will be really, it will impact the whole supply of the food security. I would say what we are doing is diversified. Just going back to our feed, we have our own farms that we grow our feed in US and Argentina, but also we have our partner we produce in Romania, South Africa, and Asia, and also some of the countries in Asia as well. That's, I would say, diversification, and to have a multiple source, that's really an important factor, because there are something that you can control, something that you cannot control at the end.
Walid, you're also a big importer.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing question. This is exactly why the General Food Authority has initiated the strategy. There are strategies. Which is first, we want to try the best of local agriculture. We want to do the best they can. Second thing, a Saudi company going abroad, the GCC company going abroad and investing in either existing farmings or producers, etc. And these are with conditions. It's not just investments in that company for revenue purposes. No, it's to ensure the food security in the GCC. And again, the hubs that we spoke about, hubs and the silos, logistic fleets available in Saudi. This would also ensure to enhance the food security in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ahmed,
I think there's a question here. It was waiting. Go ahead. We'll come back.
Test.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I have the mic.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Dudi. I'm in Saudi for 15 years in logistics. So I want to say that in HBS, we've been taught how to do business good, growing, make a lot of profit, become big, and big. But don't forget, we also taught that we have to contribute to the community and of course the country, right? What I see in the food security right now, a lot of a big company. Number one, I think from security point of view, we still have a risk if too much big or some big company is running or controlling the food supply chain. So my question is, what is the effort to help SME, small medium enterprise, in this sector? Because they cannot survive themselves. As we know, when we talk about, I know that I'm in logistics, right? We know that for the food is required cold chain. Cold chain is cannot be done if it is not the high scale because the investment, the specific requirement on the products and everything. So it's very difficult for SME to set up their supply chain like Al-Marai or Al-Anafia. But if the government can support this area, one is how to encourage and to build a lot of SME in this food processing or food industry. Number two, the supply chain itself, which require a big investment and setup. I know for now there is no third party which can serve the industry for everybody because of that situation. That's why probably Al-Marai has to build their own supply chain, right? And now you have become the biggest logistic in the GCC. So I go back to my question, what is this? Is there any strategy to help SME in this particular industry, and how the big guy like yourself support development of that instead of, take everything and, in my opinion, is a risk for the country. Thank you.
All right. This is the downside of being big. Saad, what's the view from the Chamber of Commerce? You have so many initiatives to encourage business.
No, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not representing any official government here, but to the best of my knowledge, for the small and medium-sized companies, there is a concerned organization which is Munshaat, which is taking care of supporting and providing necessary support to them. Even I believe at the level of Ministry of Industry, the National Industrial Development Center is providing great support also to the small and medium-sized companies as well. And definitely, as for cold chain facilities, definitely we had a lot of service providers, I believe, and they can go for outsourcing. Definitely, they will not make it their own self, but they can go for outsourcing and they can overcome this issue, I believe. However, we are supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, I believe, no doubt.
Great. There was a question here. Yes?
So the 105 kilos of waste per capita, that astounds me. And I'm wondering whether you know what the split is between how much of that 105 kilos is wasted in the home versus in restaurants. Because I believe at the restaurant level it's a very quick fix. If I give one example, I've been to buffets where if you leave food on the plate, you have to pay a supplement. And that's a very, very effective way of making sure that people don't abuse the fact that they can just fill the plate up and not eat it at a buffet. So if that waste, if a significant percentage comes from restaurants, there's actually quite an easy fix, with the support of restaurants and with regulations to stop waste at that level.
No, thank you very much for this question. Unfortunately, it is related to household only. So this number is related to household, and that is being indicated in the UNEP report, the United Nations report. It's been there, 105 kilogram per capita per year household food waste. But at the food service levels, I'm sure maybe the cases might be different. I don't have a rigid figure about it. But definitely, these type of policies, it might help definitely to reduce food waste at the food services level. Thank you.
Sure, sorry.
Just a quick comment more than a question, but I think starting the whole process of educating children and the youth, and I think we've spoken about this before, and we've actually started seeing some really good results in UAE. When we address the issue of food security with the kids, they start learning, they appreciate food, they're growing their own food just as class experiments, but they go back to their parents and then they're telling them to stop wasting food because they have grown it, they've learned how to grow food, they've taken the ownership of food. So I think the education element is really, really crucial to food security. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Definitely, no doubt, Ahmed. But back to your point. Here at local level, we have two good initiatives. The first one, which is Khairat. Khairat is initiative is being toward to manage food waste in particular. So they are covering two big markets, which is the Rabo market and the Shimal market. So they are serving almost 13,900 beneficiaries, providing vegetable, fruits, eggs, and dates. So these are key categories is being covered by this initiative. We have another local food bank, which is Itam. They are also managing access food sometimes, and they are trying to package it in a certain way and serve it to the people who in demand for this food. But I agree with you. School, working from school from early stage, definitely it's going to be more efficient. Thank you.
So I've been warned to wrap up the session. I'd like to thank my panelists for a great conversation, thank the audience for great engagement, and thank you very much.
شكرا. يعطيك العافية.